r/NoSleep. Posted by u/Shribin_04 to 1389. I'm a leader of a mercenary group. We got a job to explore an abandoned Nazi bunker. There is something inside the bunker. When I finished my military service, I couldn't find a job to support my family, so I started a mercenary group with a couple of my friends. They were ex-military just like me. Our first jobs were not hard. We would work for some people who needed protection. It was easy money for us. After a couple of jobs like that, we started going to warring countries where we would fight on the side that paid more. After a couple of jobs, we lost some good men, our friends, our brothers. After we lost 10 guys in Syria, our group disbanded because losing friends for money wasn't worth it anymore. After we disbanded, all of us tried to get normal jobs, but it was hard to find a job for all of us, because the only thing we know was violence. On that day I got an email offering us a good sum of the money for what I believed was an easy job for the money they were offering. Our job was to guard some scientist so he can safely explore an abandoned Nazi bunker. I was seriously thinking we could do this job, get the money, and not have to work ever again. I called my buddies from my former group. There were only 6 of us left. I proposed to them the offer I got. They all agreed that we should do this job because it was an easy job. So about my group, or what's left of it, there is Tom, Vlad, Bob, Jacob, Sam and me, Martin. Vlad was my second in command cause he was the most experienced after me. He was more skeptical about this job because it was too good to be true. So much money for what seemed to be an easy job. After we agreed to do the job, I contacted the people who sent me the email telling them we accept the job. They told us to come to a city in Poland called Redacted. After we get there, we will meet the scientist and go with him to the bunker. They told us that we will get reinforcements after a few hours. The last part got me thinking that the bunker exploring won't be that safe. I asked them why would we need reinforcements. They just told me it was for security measures. In the morning we got on the plane and landed in Redacted, in Poland. We meet the scientist. His name was Antoni. After meeting him, we were picked up by a truck to the destination of the bunker, which was located deep in the woods. When we got to the woods, we traveled a couple of hours to a clearing in the middle of the forest. In the middle of the clearing, there were some sandbags around what seemed to be the entrance to the bunker. The door to the bunker was sealed shut. We couldn't open the door, so we used some explosives to open the door. After opening the door, Bob, Jacob, and Sam were staying on the surface to guard the place while Tom, Vlad, Antoni, and I entered the bunker. When we went down the stairs of the bunker, we entered a small hallway that was full of dust. We then entered a door that was at the end of the hallway. After passing through the door, we found a set of rooms. The first room we entered was a barracks of some sort. It had bunk beds, a footlocker and a Nazi flag nailed to the wall. In the next room we entered, we found a radio station which surprisingly was still working, even though the only thing you can hear was static. In the next room, we found what seemed to be an officer's room. It had a nice bed, a chair and a table with a lamp on it. On top of the table were some documents that were in German. We collected the documents so we can read them later. After we entered another barracks, we found a cross that was tied to a lamp in the room, and it was spinning as somebody had just spun it. We were wondering how could it be spinning, but our thoughts were interrupted by the screams from Antoni. We rushed to him and found him in a room pointing at the corner of the room. We looked at the corner and it was full of human bodies. We calmed Antoni down, and we got closer to the bodies so we could check them out. I almost screamed when a hand rose from the pile of bodies. We got the person out from the pile of the bodies. His skin was white as a ghost and his face was expressionless. We tried to get him to talk to us, but he stayed silent. We didn't know how he managed to get inside the bunker when it was sealed shut. When after another failed attempt to get him to speak to us, we decided to lock him in one of the barracks. I went to check the guys on the surface. When I got out of the bunker, Bob pulled me to the ground and pointed to the forest. There in the forest, a light shone. Bob said that the light might be from a sniper rifle. So we decided to open fire on their location. After a couple of minutes of firing, we sent Sam to check the position for a body. He went to check the position, and after he returned he said there was nobody there and no blood to indicate that someone was there. Even though we didn't find anyone or what made the light, we were on high alert. We decide that we will have someone on guard duty for the night. Jacob and Tom volunteered to be the first on guard duty, while the rest of us were going to sleep in the bunker. After we settled in the barracks, we went to sleep. We were woken up in the middle of the night by some Nazi music playing on the radio station. We tried to turn the radio off, but it wouldn't stop playing the music. So Vlad got mad and destroyed the radio station, and finally, the music stopped. We tried to figure out who played the music, but everyone in our group said it wasn't them. Then I remembered the man we found in the bunker. Maybe it was him that played the music. We went to the room, we locked him in. And he was still there just staring at the wall. We decided to leave him alone. And since we were all woken up, we went to check on Jacob and Tom. When we reached the surface, we saw the two of them smoking cigarettes. We stayed to talk to them while Tony decided to go back to sleep. Outside there was fog around the forest like it was covering it. It was peaceful outside. Until I saw what looked like some people standing in the forest. They weren't trying to hide, they were just standing there watching us. All of us got in cover. We thought that they were going to attack us, so we decided to open fire. We fired at them, but they just stood there unmoving like statues, while bullets went through their body. And after a while, they just vanished into the fog the same way they came. We were now sure that there are people around the bunker. I ordered everyone to be on guard duty while I went to check on Tony. I found him in the hallway looking at something. When I got closer, I saw that he was looking at a map. It was a map of the bunker. I asked him why was he looking at the map, and he mumbled that there is something wrong with the map because on the map it says there is another room in the bunker. It was a big room, bigger than all of the other rooms. When I took a look at the map, it indeed showed that there was supposed to be a big room in the bunker, but we somehow didn't stumble upon it. When I took a better look at it, the room was connected to the officer's room. Both of us went to the officer's room and started looking for the entrance to the room. We looked for a long time. Until I accidentally pushed the bed. And under it, I found a hatch. I opened the hatch and found a set of stairs. Tony and I went down the stairs. I entered the room. In the room, there was a camera, and what looked like a machine. I never had seen a machine like that before. While Tony looked excited like a kid. He took pictures of the machine and wrote something in his book. I asked him what the machine was, but he said he didn't know. I left him alone in the room and went to the guys. Some of the guys returned to the barracks to sleep while Tom and Jacob stayed on guard duty. I sent a message to our employers to tell them that we managed to enter the bunker, but I got no reply from them. I was tired and went to sleep. In the morning I was the first to wake up and I went to check on Tom and Jacob. When I got out of the bunker and found them both, their hands were tied together, their necks were cut, and there was a bullet case logged inside Tom's eye. They were dead for a few hours. I pulled the bullet case out. It was a 7.92 by 57 Mauser. This bullet was used by the Germans in World War II. After I alerted everyone of what happened, we buried our friends. Vlad was most hurt by the death of our friends. He punched me and told me I was to blame for our friend's death. I was hurt by this because I would never accept this job if I know it was dangerous. We saw the people again in the forest like last time we fired at them, but they just disappeared once more. I sent an email to our employers that we suffered casualties. I got a reply this time. They told me that we would get reinforcements after 72 hours. I went to Tony because I had a suspicion that he knew more than he had told us when we meet him. I looked for him in the bunker and I found him in the big room with the machine. He was fixing the camera and trying to play some tape he had found. I asked him to tell me everything he knows about this job. He was hesitant at first, but he finally told me that he had known that this job is dangerous and that we were not the first to try this job and that all that have tried to do this job died. He said his job was to find this machine and find out what its purpose is. And he said he may have figured it out, he just needs to fix the camera. After he fixed the camera, he put the tape inside and activated the camera. In the video, we saw what looked like the Nazis were doing some experiments. They put a soldier in the machine and after he got out they shoot him in the head. But after a couple of seconds, he got up as if nothing happened. And the way he acted was almost robot-like. He didn't show any emotions, he just stood still and listened to the orders he was given. Tony then told me that in the documents he read that the Nazis were doing experiments to find a way to create super soldiers. But stopped in 1943 because of a lack of funding. As the video continued, we saw a familiar figure and it was the man we found in the video. He was the officer in command of the experiments. I went to see the man, but I found his room empty and Sam, who was supposed to be guarding him, was missing. I asked Vlad if he had seen the two of them leave the bunker, but he said he was on guard duty and no one had left the bunker. We looked around the bunker but we only found the man in the officer's room. And he was smiling at us. On the table was Sam's head. I was angry, so I shoot him in the head. He dropped to the ground. I looked at him as he was laying on the ground. Then suddenly the lights went out. It was just for a second, but the body of the man disappeared. We went to the surface to find Vlad and Bob. They were looking at the forest and once more we saw the people in the forest, only this time they were slowly moving towards us. We opened fire on them and even threw grenades at them, but it didn't stop their advance. As they got closer we were forced to retreat to the bunker. But as we are retreating, Bob was too slow and they caught him. We heard his screams. But we had to continue to retreat. We barricaded the door to the hallway. But it wasn't going to stop them for long. We were trapped. We went inside the big room. Vlad was beyond mad. He said, "This is all my fault, that I was the one that proposed the job and I am responsible for the deaths of our friends." I had enough of him yelling at me and I said that he was to blame too, because he also agreed that we should do the job. Tony told us to stop fighting and find a way out of this bunker. We stopped fighting so we can try to find a way out. I looked at the map of the bunker. I saw no secret exit, but I did find that the vents lead to the outside. So I saw the vents in the corner. The only problem was they were too high. I climbed on Vlad's shoulders and managed to get inside the vent. We heard the door being destroyed, so we know that they have entered. We didn't have much time to waste. I got Tony up and I tried to raise Vlad, but he was too heavy. I saw that the things have started entering the room and I saw them clearly for the first time. They were Nazi soldiers. When I failed to raise Vlad for the 10th time, he decided to hold them back while we escape. He started shooting at them with his machine gun, but it only slowed them a little. After a few minutes, he stopped firing and I assumed he was killed. We started going through the vent. It was dark inside, but I started to see a light at the end of the vent. I heard Tony scream something had caught his leg and was pulling him back. I tried to help him, but the thing that was pulling him was stronger and it dragged him away into the dark. I continued going and I got out of the vent. The moment I got out, I was surrounded by Nazi soldiers. I thought that this was it, I'm going to die. But then the officer stood in front of me and he said that he can use more soldiers. After he said that, I was knocked out. When after it seemed like hours I woke up, I was standing still. I couldn't move my body. I was standing in the forest with other Nazi soldiers. I saw Vlad too, dressed in a Nazi uniform. The officer congratulated me on joining them. And said I was going to be a good soldier. I couldn't say anything, just watch in horror. After exactly 72 hours I saw a group of soldiers followed by a female scientist entering the bunker. The officer started to smile.